Well, as you've heard by now, most of you, Judge Chutkan, the federal district judge appointed by Obama, a radical leftist in a black robe, has now dismissed the so-called January 6th case at the request of the rogue unconstitutional prosecutor Jack Smith. She dismissed it about 90 minutes ago. Now, she did it without prejudice at the request of Jack Smith. The reason they did that is because there's some other individuals who may be involved in that case, and that means they might want to leave it open to pursuit. But it'll never happen. When Donald Trump takes over the Department of Justice in a couple of months, the cases will be fully eliminated, and he always has the pardon power. In the Florida case, Smith also moved to have that dismissed. It's in front of a federal appeals court. It was already dismissed. A great, brilliant judge, and she ruled that he was unconstitutionally appointed. And there were others like Landmark Legal Foundation, of which I'm chairman, and as well as two former attorneys general that said Smith's appointment violated the Appointments Clause. And the judge ruled exactly that way. Aileen Cannon. Then we have these state cases. They will eventually die. May take a little longer, depending on how Judge Merchan rules and what President Trump's lawyers do in response. It just depends. And it looks like in Georgia, the appellate court where that case is sitting has cleared the schedule of any oral arguments whatsoever. So it looks to me, if I read the tea leaves, that they're about to kill the case too. Now, no brag, just fact. Those of you who've been listening to this program over the last few years know that I've been right about these cases from day one. I explained that they're rushing to the courthouse because if Donald Trump's elected president, they can't charge him. I pulled out and dusted off the two Department of Justice memos that nobody had been talking about, the one from 1973 and 2000. I've cited them here multiple times. I've cited them on Blaze. I've cited them on Fox. Now, finally, it's in the bloodstream of the media and the chattering classes. That made it impossible to pursue a sitting president. And, of course, Donald Trump won the election, and that's that. That's why they were in a race to the courthouse, to influence the election, to interfere with the election. They hoped to take Trump out, to create a constitutional crisis where the Republicans would have to have another convention and choose another nominee. That was their goal, and they failed. They failed because of Donald Trump. We've never seen anybody like him before, and they failed because of you. In the end, you said no. In the end, you were in charge. And so we were right here from day one on every one of these cases, on the unconstitutional appointment, right 100%, right about Manhattan, right about Georgia. Just a matter of time until it was proven. I have to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, this assault on our justice system and our electoral system, the unconstitutional appointment of a so-called special counsel, the abuses of power by the Attorney General and his subordinates, no doubt, and the abuses of power as well when it comes to the courts in Washington, D.C. This can't just be blown off. I do believe the Department of Justice, the incoming new Department of Justice at the highest levels, needs to take a look at this. All the documents must be retained under the Presidential Records Act, even without an order or a demand from Congress or a court or even the incoming administration. Those records are supposed to be protected, as we've now long learned, right? And if they destroyed any records, and if they touch on the classified nature of any documents, well, that's a violation of the Espionage Act. And if they did any of that, or any individual did any of that, they should be pursued. They should be pursued to the full extent of the law, because the sword cuts both ways. And so I think this is very, very important. We'll continue to monitor this. I do want to add a few other things, and then we'll circle back some of these comments by these radical left-wing kook members of the House on what on what had to be done with respect to the Department of Justice. They had no choice. This appointment to the Labor Department, I forget her name, it really doesn't matter, is very troubling to me. Donald Trump picks who he wants, and he'll get who he wants. So my opinion is my opinion. But she's opposed to right to work. What is right to work? A right to work state is a state that says that employees have a right to go to work even if they don't want to join a union. I believe strongly in right to work. I've believed in right to work my entire life. That's number one. Number two, so she wanted to eliminate it. She's a big sop for the teachers' unions. The NEA and the AFT, they have fought school choice. They have fought parental rights. They have fought the removal of pornographic material from our classrooms and from classroom studies. She's a big sop for them. She's a big mouthpiece for them. And so when it was learned that she was the nominee, Randy Weingarten was very excited. Now, so was the Teamsters Union, but I'm not so much worried about the Teamsters Union because there's a lot more overlap when it comes to our views and the Teamsters' views. I'm not talking about private sector unions here. I'm talking about specifically a public sector type union, the teachers' unions. Now, they went out in full force, 2.5 million members, not all of them, some of the Republicans, but most of them. They campaigned against Trump. They contributed against Trump. Weingarten was the first endorsement that Kamala Harris got. So if we're going to ban people who helped DeSantis and so forth from serving in the administration, how do you justify this? That's just my opinion. No, I'm not lobbying against her, for her. I'm not lobbying at all. As I've made this point abundantly clear, President Trump should be able to get the team that he wants. But I just hope she's not one of these bad appointments. We saw a few of them in the first term, who sabotages his efforts because he believes in school choice. He believes in parental rights. He believes in cleaning up our classrooms and our school libraries from the filth and so forth and so on. She does not. Maybe she'll say she does, but she has a record. Now, I also read that there were a number of Republican leaders, quote unquote, that encouraged President Trump to appoint her. I'd love them to come out of the shadows, stop leaking, and tell us who they are. Tell us who they are. So-called Republican leaders. Well, they're not going to because they're cowards. So I just wanted to voice my concern about this. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe she'll do beautifully. Beautifully. That's a big damn department with a lot of power, the Labor Department. And her position is not a moderate position. It's not a rhino position. It's an extremist position. She's only one of 6 Republicans who voted in favor of a bill that would federally eliminate state right-to-work laws. That violates federalism. That violates the right of workers, of laborers. That imposes from the top down, from Washington, D.C., a requirement that you must join an organization even if you don't want to join an organization. And she's all in with the teachers' unions. So this is problematic to me. I'm sure we could have found a different kind of moderate to liberal that may have assuaged some of the private sector union leaders, but this one is way out there. Way out there. All right, I've said my piece. And for the media out there that will say, Mark Levin criticized Trump, I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm simply talking about her and what she stands for. That's my job. That's what I do. She's the nominee. She will probably, very likely, be confirmed. But, you know, we have radio hosts and TV hosts that are so gutless and so lack any kind of courage or independence or knowledge or anything else. They're going to keep their heads down. There's no need to keep your head down. I've said again, President Trump should get the nominees he wants. This is his government. He got elected. I didn't. He won by a landslide. This is the team he wants. So give him his team. If things don't work out, he'll be the first one to fire people. He's not like Joe Biden. He'll be the first one to remove people. He's removed them in the first term. He'll remove them in the second term if it doesn't work out. I'm just throwing out a cautionary note about her in specific. And by the way, I don't know what the president's been told. I don't know what his advisors said. I don't know any of it. I'm not involved in it. So who knows? But She is what she is. She is who she is.